All right, let's dive in. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating text that flips the whole idea of identity on its head. Instead of history, it talks about an encrypted code. The book is called The Asiatic Black Man is Khan, Archive Survival, and it lays out a framework that it claims is nothing short of fundamental law. So let's break down exactly what it's arguing.
And boom, right out of the gate, the author makes it crystal clear they're not messing around. This quote sets the tone for the entire text. This isn't poetry, it's not symbolism. The author is presenting these ideas as a kind of unshakable law.
So, to really get what's being said here, we have to kind of shift our thinking away from typical history. The book asks us to see lineage and identity as this encrypted code, something the author calls archive law or a cipher. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the foundational declaration, the core idea. Then we're going to decode what the author means by the Khan cipher. From there, we'll look at a pretty wild linguistic argument about the can suffix. Then things get cosmic with the Anunnaki activation. And finally, we'll see how it all ties together in the ultimate goal, archive survival.
Okay, first up, the central premise. This is the absolute anchor of the entire book. Every other idea that follows flows directly from this one core statement. So, here it is. The book's main assertion is that the original man is the Asiatic Black Man. But here's the key twist. The name Khan gets a complete reboot. It's no longer just a title for a historical Mongol ruler. In this framework, Khan is the specific name for the warrior aspect of this original man. And that redefinition changes everything. So, if Khan isn't just a guy from the history books, what is he? This is where the author introduces this concept of a cipher. It basically takes the historical person of Genghis Khan and transforms him into an archetype.
Now, this is a really crucial definition. When you hear the word cipher, you're probably thinking of a secret message that needs to be cracked, right? Well, you can just toss that idea out. In this book, a cipher is described as a living frequency, a kind of signal that's constantly broadcasting this warrior archetype.
This chart really lays out the difference. On the one hand, you have the historical Genghis Khan we all know, the guy who united tribes, enforced the law code, and was a master tactician. But on the other hand, you have the author's interpretation. Khan as cipher becomes the living embodiment of that warrior aspect, a transmitter of what's called divine mathematics and the pure archetype of survival itself.
Now, you might be thinking this is all pretty abstract, but the author tries to ground this idea in something really concrete. Our language. The argument is that this cipher isn't just a concept. It's left a linguistic echo that you can find today, especially across the diaspora.
And the author makes this claim very directly. The argument is that the can you see at the end of these nationalities isn't some leftover artifact from colonial history. Instead, it's presented as an intentional, buried signal that connects directly back to the Khan cipher.
And you can see it right here. The author points to Mexican, African, Jamaican, and so on, and isolates this repeating sound. It's presented as a recurring linguistic marker, what the book calls an echo of Khan, that links these different groups together under its framework.
All right, so we've gone from the foundational premise to linguistics. And now the argument takes a turn and goes cosmic. The author introduces celestial element to explain the origins and the power behind this whole Khan cipher idea.
So the book brings in the Anunnaki, pulling the concept from ancient Sumerian texts. Now, within this narrative, they aren't just myths. They're presented as literal celestial architects or star people whose job was to seed knowledge on Earth and, really importantly, to activate certain chosen bloodlines with that knowledge.
And this sets up what the book calls a chain of activation. It's a clear sequence. First, the Anunnaki plant the seed of knowledge. Second, the original man is chosen to be the builder. Third, Genghis Khan is presented as an activated vessel for this knowledge. And finally, that brings us to today, where that same encrypted code is said to be carried within the diaspora.
So, you have to ask, what is the point of all this? What's the end game? Well, the final piece of the argument is all about the ultimate purpose, a concept the author calls archive survival.
And archive survival, according to the text, isn't just about passively enduring or getting by. It's an active process. It's about ensuring that this entire system, the lineage, the warrior tactics, this divine blueprint, gets passed on to the next generation perfectly, with no changes or dilution.
And then the concept gets taken even further. The author argues that this archive isn't just some idea or an old book. It's physical. The human body itself is presented as a divine blueprint, a living, walking archive that contains this encrypted code.
To make this idea really concrete, the book assigns specific tactical functions to physical features. The nose is described as a signal. Hair, whether it's coiled or straight, is an antenna. Skin pigment becomes archive armor, and the lips are transmission tools. Every feature gets reframed with a purpose.
So the real-world application of all these ideas is something the author calls succession. The ultimate goal is for this entire framework, this scroll of knowledge, to be passed on cleanly so that the next generation can be activated and become transmitters of the code themselves.
And this final quote really captures the book's stated mission. It's positioned as a tool for activation, and it's aimed at young people who, in the author's view, aren't actually lost. They're just waiting for this code to be revealed and switched on.
So when you boil it all down, this text takes our common ideas of history, lineage, and identity and completely recasts them as an encrypted, tactical, and even celestial code that's designed for activation. So the question it really leaves us with is this: how does it fundamentally change things if you view identity not as a history to be learned, but as a cipher to be activated?